Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Pediatric renal transplant, the inception and the journey. My talk is based on renal transplant program run by professorial surgical and pediatric units of Teaching Hospital Peradeniya. I would like to share our experience in not only transplant surgery but also in dialysis success surgery for children with renal failure. End-stage renal disease. Once these children with renal disease reach end stage, they need either dialysis or transplant. What is best for these children? Is it dialysis or is it transplantation? With modern dialysis techniques, a child of almost any size can be supported, but it is extremely difficult to maintain a normal homeostatic environment. Therefore, it is associated with major problems including bone disease, growth failure, anemia, serious infections, cardiovascular morbidity, access issues for hemodialysis, membrane failure for peritoneal dialysis, psychological challenges, and overall increased mortality. The first successful pediatric kidney transplant was performed at the University of Minnesota in 1963. However, early transplants were complicated by technical, immunologic, and logistical problems that lead to low rates of graft and patient survival. But with time, the advances in surgical techniques, immunosuppression, and management of infections in children have contributed to the favorable outcome that we see today. The transplant program at Peradeniya was initiated by Professor M.D. Lamavansa and others in 2004. We had a very good foundation to establish the program and that enabled us to sustain and develop it. The pediatric unit in Teaching Hospital Peradeniya was a referral center for renal disease. We had surgeons who had experience in pediatric surgery and vascular surgery. Dr. Oswald Fernando, an eminent transplant surgeon from UK, was at hand as an external expert. The anesthesia department was ready to take the challenge of anesthetizing and looking after these children post-operatively. The radiology and pathology departments were ready to help. So was the already established adult transplant program at Kandy. We had number of challenges in early days. There were issues with social backgrounds and finances of the children and the donors. The infrastructure was sufficient but was limited. The dialysis was primitive. The patients were often anemic, undernourished. There were anesthetic issues like cardiomyopathy, ascites, deranged liver functions, bleeding tendency. Monitoring of drug levels were difficult. But we managed to address these issues and overcome them with time. These are the members of the team who initiated the transplant program. So far, we have performed 131 transplants in 129 patients. These are the indications for transplant in our patient population. In younger children, it was mainly congenital defects, while in older children, it was mainly glomerulonephritis. We had two patients with Alport syndrome, the brother and the sister of the same family from Jaffna. This is the graphic presentation of number of transplants we did in each year. On average, we do more than 8 transplants per year. However, the number varies depending on the number of fully prepared patients, that is with donors. We manage to perform the operation within 1 to 2 weeks once the patient is ready. Therefore, we don't have a waiting list for transplants. This is the geographical distribution of our patients. We have catered almost all the regions of the island. The youngest to transplant was 1 year and 9 months. The average of a patient is 11 years and 5 months. Most of our children were males. There were 84 males as opposed to 45 females. The site of implantation depends on the recipient's weight. Generally, when weight is less than 20 kilos, it is intraperitoneal, and when it is more than 20 kilos, it is extraperitoneal. However, we prefer extraperitoneal implantation, and we managed to do that successfully in 129 times. The site of arterial anastomosis depends on the patient's weight and size. When it was less than 16 kilos, the aorta was chosen, and for the rest, the common iliac artery was selected. The venous anastomosis was done to one of the IVC, common iliac vein or external iliac vein. We use extraperitoneal ureteroneocystostomy or Lichtenberger technique for ureteric implantation. Our use of ureteric stents were very selective. In fact, we used only 10 stents in our series. But our ureteric complications are not significant with other data available in literature. Once these children are stable, they, they are handed over to regional nephrologists for follow-up. Currently, 92 children with functioning transplants are being followed up at Nephrology Clinic, Peradeniya. Some of the transplanted children have done well in their education and life. 5 children have entered into state universities, while one child has entered to a private university. 14 of them are employed at the moment. These are the surgical complications we have come across so far. Most common complication was bleeding or oozing and perinephric hematoma, which required reopening. Out of 9 surgical site infections, only one was significant. Unfortunately, that ended up with graft loss. There were 3 lymphocytes, and one required marsupialization while others were aspirated. 2 patients developed acute limb ischemia and managed with fem-fem crossover bypasses. We had 21 deaths in our series. The causes were sepsis, intracranial hemorrhages, myocardial infarctions, bleeding, and CAA. At Peradeniya, we have done 131 donor nephrectomies. All of them were live donors. The technique was open surgery except 2 hand-assisted laparoscopic surgeries. We haven't done any cadaveric transplants for children. Most of our donors were related to the patient. The relationship is shown in the chart. Although most of our recipients were males, in contrast, most of our donors were females. Fortunately, we didn't have significant donor complications. There were 5 incidences of slip clamps. Out of them, 2 donors went into shock, but they had a full recovery. Regarding renal access surgeries, we have performed 6 arteriovenous fistulae. All of them were brachiocephalic fistulae. Our role in line-related issues were to help in arresting of bleeding and in open insertion of cupped central lines. For peritoneal dialysis, we insert both temporary and permanent lines. We use laparoscope for the insertion of permanent line. As a team, we meet regularly for workup, pre-op multidisciplinary team meetings, and morbidity and mortality meetings if required. This has helped to achieve a better outcome. And this is our current transplant team. Today, we are equipped with all necessary surgical instruments. We have 2 operating rooms to operate both the donor and the recipient simultaneously. Therefore, the cold ischemia time is minimal. There are dedicated spaces in ICU and nephrology ward to look after these children post-operatively. At the beginning, cold heart mask solution was used for perfusions. Since 2015, custodial solution is used instead. We had a small function to celebrate the 100th transplant in 2018. In this picture, successful recipients are posing for a photograph with Dr. Oswald Fernando. Our next aim is to perform donor nephrectomies laparoscopically. For that, the necessary equipments are available at Peradeniya, and the surgeons have the required training. It may be possible to achieve that target during 2020 itself, unless hampered by the COVID-19. Thank you.